April 16th. And if we could rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will, at this point, I just want to remind everybody at the tables and then people who are coming up to speak into the microphones. Apparently it's not been coming out clear, so if we could just remember to do that. I'm going to open public comment at 6:31. Do I have anybody here for public comment? All right, well, we'll leave it open till 7:01 for the 30 minutes. And our first up, who do we have?
The NAMI student
The NAMI student group.
Weird to not have this actually amplify.
I know, but it does work. It does work at home.
Okay. I don't have a thumbs up. Anyway, I'm Tally Westerberg, school social worker here at Winnacunnet in my 24th or 5th year, I think it is now. And I have some students here with me tonight to talk about the Winnacunnet NAMI Youth Leader Program.
Hello everyone, I'm Marley Eaton. I'm a sophomore and this is my first year a part of NAMI.
Hi everybody, my name is Annabelle Holmes. I'm a senior and this is my second year being a NAMI youth leader.
Hi everyone, my name is Sadie Stefano. I'm a junior and this is my second year being a NAMI.
All right, so I'm going to basically pass the microphone to them and click the slides in the background. But while I am doing that, we're going to pass out some of our green NAMI brains so that you guys have a parting gift as a stress ball. And there's going to be some content that they're going to go over that they go over with the youth. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time. We're going to actually ask you to participate in one of our activities that we do with the kids tonight. So.
So just some general information about us. So we started when we received generous funding from the Seacoast Women's Giving Circle in the summer of 2023 for training in the NAMI Connect Leader Program. And then in the winter, a select group of students as well as teachers was given training on evidence-based suicide prevention curriculum by a New Hampshire NAMI professional. And then we took the most important information from that whole day training session and we kind of transformed it into a slideshow presentation that we now present to wellness classes as well as freshman seminar classes. And we just recently had our first trip to Ascending School where we presented to the 8th graders, and this all started in the 2023-2024 school year. Here's a picture of our whole group. This is taken during our summer training day last summer. As you can see, everyone is very tan. So at the end of every school year, we take new applications and we accept new members. And then usually the last couple weeks of summer, we hold a training session where the former NAMI members will kind of teach the new members about what we teach to the classes and just kind of our core values.
So Winnacunnet NAMI's mission, it was created by a select group of 10 to 12th graders who strive to break the stigma and raise awareness for suicide prevention. We now present, like Sadie said, to wellness classes as club members and then student to student. We believe that peer-to-peer is the most efficient way of teaching. Presenting to sending schools and high school students will allow for younger students to learn the importance of caring for themselves and reaching out to others.
So since we started in the winter of last year, we've done a couple different things over the course of last pretty much school year and a half. So in 2023 to 2024, how they mentioned, we updated the whole presentation to be more maybe kid-friendly or more kind of attainable for people to take information from it. And we also kind of picked like what our favorite activities were, what kept us engaged during the training, and put that all into one spot. And then we also presented to 5 sophomore wellness classes and 2 senior wellness classes. And I believe that was just in the last trimester of last school year. And then we also created a WHS NAMI Instagram account. So, for instance, we'll put things up about National Suicide Awareness Day, National Mental Health Awareness Day, but then we'll also put out reminders about if we're doing something in the school or when our applications open, so things like that. So kids who are on Instagram are able to kind of get those reminders through a different way. And then we also conducted our first kind of flow of new application for new members. So that's all the things that we did last year. And then so far this year, we presented our presentation to over 10 sophomore wellness classes, 3 different senior wellness classes, and then we also did mental health presentations to 15 of our freshman seminar classes. And then we also did a Getting to the Why training, which Ms. Westberg will talk about a little bit later. And then we also did mental health presentations to both groups at Seabrook Middle School and also Hanson Academy. And then last, our biggest, most recent thing that we did was during our Try-2 exams, we had the relief dog Gus come in. So we had him here for our exam days, and so everybody was able to utilize that.
So the core principles that NAMI asks us to remind students of are that suicide is a public health problem that impacts all ages, much like any other public health issue, COVID, smoking, seatbelt use, those kinds of things. It's generally preventable with the right treatment, and that everyone has a responsibility in preventing suicide. We know that communicating with others helps reduce the risk of suicide in a community, and that recognizing and connecting are the 2 actions that save lives. Our students are trained in how to recognize risk and protective factors and warning signs, and how to support a friend. One of the things that we talk about a lot is that after this training, we're not expecting you to be a trained counselor. We're really just expecting you to be able to recognize signs in your friends and then know how to lead your friends to a trusted adult to get them help. We also talk about not worrying alone, that this isn't something that you should take on by yourself, and that you really need to know how to help yourself and how to help others connect to treatment and those kinds of things. And the training, as they have said, is youth-led. There's 3 modules that are, basically content, videos, and then student participation.
So 2 of our favorite activities that we picked from our general presentation that we got from the NAMI leader was a Jeopardy game. So basically the Jeopardy game it's kind of like a separate Google Slides thing, and basically what we do is split our group of students into 2 different groups, and we have them work together to try and answer whatever question they end up choosing from our game. So one is, for instance, it relates big cities versus small towns, and what are the different factors of people kind of living with mental health, what can affect people in those 2 different things. So we talk about how in the city there's a lot more abundant resources for people to go get mental health help, and then also things like being in a small town, growing up in a small town with the same people, rumors get around, just things like that. So we split our students up, make them work together to answer the question. You actually don't win, which we don't tell them until the end, so they're very engaged the whole time. It's really great. So that's the biggest thing that we do. And then we also do a What Do You See, which basically we actually just put, I want to say 15 to 20 pictures of kids who are of all kinds. We put pictures of people doing all different things, and it's, again, kind of like a trick question. We basically say, who are these people, which of these people are at risk for suicide or mental health issues, and the answer is all of them. So they're both kind of trick questions, but they're getting content through them. So exactly, that's the point. So this video, well, not video, but to the left of the screen, that's Kevin Hines. So during our training, we learned about Kevin Hines, and basically what his story is he's a suicide survivor. He jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived, and he's only, I think it was like 2 or 3% of people who did try and commit suicide off of the bridge survive. So he was one of them, and now what he does is he spends his life talking about growing up with bipolar disease, mental health issues, and also supporting other youths who are struggling with the same things that he was. Through that, we basically teach, obviously, suicide is a profound loss. We talk about the correct ways to speak about it with people or the correct language to use. And basically, we focus on how all of us have been touched by loss, whether it was through suicide or mental health issues, or if, other people in your lives have passed away. So we kind of focus on the idea of, again, speaking about it correctly. And then obviously it's a very hard to speak about topic, so what we do is we remind everybody to speak about it in a fashion where you don't know what's going on with other people's lives. That's important to use at any point, but specifically when we're talking about it in class. And then also practicing good self-care and seeking support if you need it. And we kind of talk about different resources that you have at school or maybe outside of school around here.
So this is my favorite activity that we do because it requires us getting up and then also throwing stuff at each other. The kids love to do that, but in a respectful way. So this is where we're going to ask for your engagement. So what we're going to do, we usually do in the class, is we throw around a ball like this or something like whatever they have in the class. So I did in a wellness class, and we threw around a dodgeball that one of the teachers had in there. So we throw it at one of the students, and we ask, what is a reason you think that we don't talk about suicide? So it all kind of relates back to that stigma that we have around it. So what we're going to do with you is kind of like a mock. We're not going to throw anything at you. Yes. But we're going to ask you guys, what do you think, why don't we talk about suicide? What are some of the things that you think why there's stigma around suicide?
Maybe we start with Zoe.
Zoe? Yes.
People don't want to burden others with their thoughts.
Do I bring the microphone to them, or do I just?
Oh, no.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I did. Never mind. Yes.
I think it's just really difficult for anybody to talk about the pain of loss, especially by suicide, because it is so preventable.
Sensitive topic, yeah.
I think people think if you talk about suicide, it's going to cause people to take their own life.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are embarrassed to talk about it.
Geez, it's a good list. I guess I was thinking about people are afraid that they don't know other people's stories and the potential impact, so they're afraid they might upset someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because there's so many different emotions, people who have gone through it, I think, there's all different emotions, so it's just hard. You've got anger, you've got sadness, you've got all of those things, so I think that sometimes it's very hard for people to articulate that.
Potential fear of judgment from peers or others.
He's like, sometimes too, when you lose somebody, you feel guilty because could you have done something?
Yeah. So we, the main consensus I hear here is a lot about embarrassment and feeling like, Nicole, I want to pick on you for a second, how you said like how you think that if you put it in somebody's head that they're going to want to, they have that idea of suicide in their head. And those are all main topics that we talk about in the class. We also touch upon backlash, it's too heavy of a topic. Vulnerability equals weakness, so we touched a lot upon male stigmatism and making sure that males know it's okay to talk about your emotions and your feelings, especially when it comes to something like this. We also talk about family values, religious beliefs. Some people might have heavier core beliefs about those kind of things. And then uneducated, some people feel like they don't know too much, so they can't talk about those kind of things, which we try and shut that down and make sure that people know that you can talk about those kind of things.
Very well done. Thank you all for your vulnerability and willingness to share. And I would say in this moment, right, this is hard. It's hard when we get into kids' rooms to talk about it. It's hard right now in this room. And so if you need to take a break and take care of yourself, I'm sure that you can. And Ms. LaFond will be okay with that. Anybody in the room. But we know the first step in preventing suicide is talking about suicide. And so that is why these kids do the work that they do.
Okay, so like I mentioned before, we kind of speak with people about ways or resources that they have or that we can support them with, that either the school might offer, our area might offer, or maybe things that are online even. So again, kind of how I mentioned before, how to speak about it correctly. We want to speak about it in a respectful manner, again, because we never know what's going on with people in their lives. So that's kind of an overall topic that we talk about. But then we also mention the crisis text line, which is 741-741, and that one's important to know because obviously if anything does get to the point where you think you might need that, it's a really easy number to remember. And we always try and write it on the boards of the classrooms we're in, and we try and write it in a corner. So like sometimes I'll go present in a classroom and 3 weeks later it's still there, which is awesome. So I love that. And then we also talk about 988, which is on the back of our student IDs, and we like mentioning that because kids tend to have that on them as, you know, more often than others. So that's obviously the mental health and suicide crisis lifeline. And then we also talk about the New Hampshire addiction line, and it's 211. And all of these things are listed on our slideshow as well. So like I said, we write them on the board, and we just make sure, try to get into people's heads that there are resources for you, and you should utilize them if you need to. My favorite thing that I learned during our training was a welfare check. I actually wasn't aware of this beforehand, and I absolutely love mentioning it every time because for me it was something I didn't even know existed. And so I kind of speak about like ways that you could use it, even if it's maybe not in a mental health sense, but you know, if you just want to check on somebody, you know. I talk about like I'm going to college next year, and I think about, you know, if I have a friend who's all the way in California, if I need to call somebody to go check on them, I'm able to do that. And I like kind of referencing that, especially if you have family or siblings that are all around the country. We also obviously mention 911, which is the one a lot of us are familiar with. And then we also speak about kind of when we're assisting our friends or people that we know, we talk about like listening to your gut, understanding what people are going through, and then also we emphasize that idea of don't do this alone. It's something that it takes a village to help people with, so that's kind of something else that we really emphasize. So as we mentioned before, we did mental health presentations to our freshman seminar classes, a total of 15 this year, which was actually incredible because it's so many kids that we were able to educate. I did this actually with Zoe this year to my freshman seminar class. We really just go over, it's a little bit more focusing on mental health and good mental health, especially because they're in that transition period of coming into high school into a new environment. So we focus a little bit more on good mental health and then also resources that they may have to them in their sending schools, because we also did the same presentation in 8th grade, that's what I meant to mention. So we kind of talk about maybe in their sending schools, do you have somebody that you're able to talk to? Who are you able to talk to? Like we have them list those out so we know that they are aware of the things that they have to use for a resource. Oh, this is awesome. So I'm very fortunate to be able to run our NAMI Instagram. So kind of like I mentioned earlier, on things like that, we post like Suicide Prevention Month, World Mental Health Day, and then like I said, our applications or anything that we've been doing that year maybe it might be worth mentioning. Something else that we did was taking care of yourself during the holidays. We were trying to figure out maybe what could we do during December that would benefit people, and we kind of talked about how for some people it's really hard to go home and spend 2.5 weeks with their family. So what we did was we all create, well, not all of us, some of us created different designs of posters to put up about different things that maybe you can do or practicing self-care in your own home. And I think that was great, and they're still around the school, so it's even better that it's still around. This is, yes.
Another initiative that the state of New Hampshire is kicking off actually is Getting to Why. And Getting to Why, in a similar way to the NAMI Connect leaders, engages a youth-adult partnership to talk about the school district's YRBS, Youth Risk Behavior Survey results. And so we did have 2 students go to the training in Concord, and we sort of missed a window to have another training in April just because it was, or March, the first day of the new trimester, and we just couldn't make it work. But I would imagine next year we will also be launching Getting to Why, and that is a program similar to Train the Trainer, but where students basically take a whole day and they look at our specific community youth risk behavior results, and then they come up with a communication strategy, they come up with an like an action plan, and then run a community event to specifically talk about our community results for the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. So look to that in the future.
Okay, so, this is a great photo of me presenting. Wow. So, like I mentioned before, we actually utilize both the mental health presentation to both our freshman seminar classes and our 8th grade classes because we hadn't used it on those two groups yet. So what we were able to do was I was fortunate enough to be able to visit both Seabrook and Hampton Academy to do this. So I don't know, I guess I'm just going to speak about my experience. So luckily, since I had done it for a lot of freshman seminar classes prior, I kind of had a great experience with the kids being able to kind of work on people learning how to talk about it, because it is obviously spoken about a lot more in middle school than when you're in elementary school, but it's still an uncomfortable topic to speak about. So we try and keep everybody engaged. We have a big Kahoot at the end, so we kind of mentioned that in the beginning, like stick with us, and you're also going to need this information. And through it, we kind of go through general like signs of mental health, good mental health, bad mental health. Again, resources they can utilize, and then we also kind of talk about maybe pop culture things, like we mentioned. I'm trying to think what some examples are. Like Lady Gaga, yes.
People who've been very open in the public eye about mental health.
Yeah, so it's also good to know about not only are we as peers trying to speak to you about this, but also there are people who have so many other things going on in their lives, and they're obviously have kind of the public eye on them, and they are open to speaking about it. So it's just important to kind of again break that stigma about why we don't talk about it. Okay, so so this is about our exam day, stress relief day with Gus. So when we were talking, I believe it was in January or something like that, we were talking about what could we do like in the upcoming months, and we were talking about, oh, finals, like that's a stressful time. And I know that we had been talking about it, and a lot of post-secondary schools do like bring in comfort dogs, and we're thinking about what can we utilize in our general community. Thank you. In our community that we have. So we were really excited to be able to bring Gus in. He kind of hung out for the day with us. He was there from right when kids walked in down to the end of the day. So during breaks, during lunch, during all our warrior blocks, he was here, and I think that everybody had a great experience for him to be able to come in, and it's also fun to just have him here, even if you're not stressed, being able to see a dog halfway through the day.
So some of our goals for the 2025-2026 school year are to grow our club with accepting new members with similar values. So we're currently working on finalizing our application, so we're hoping that we can send that out soon so that we can accept new members and plan our summer training date. To create fundraising opportunities, we did a lot this year, but unfortunately we weren't able to fit in any fundraising, so we're really hoping that next year will be our year to start fundraising. Find other ways to reach out to the student body. I feel like this year even we really improved on kind of getting more reach out to the student body, like Annabelle explained earlier with those posters around the school. I really like that because I think it was just such a small action that we did, but had so much impact on those students who have such negative feelings around the holidays, just to know that they aren't alone. So even just small things like that, hopefully we can do more of that in the next school year. And then obviously to continue to present to wellness classes, freshman seminar classes, and hopefully we can do more 8th grade visits next year as well. So this is a video from a New Hampshire high school student named Erin Murphy, and it was filmed in 2021, and it's called Dear Younger Me, and she submitted this to the 9 to 5 Voices art contest, which is a New Hampshire-based art contest that really focuses on mental health, and this video just showcases her journey of her own mental health struggles and how she was resilient and how important it was in her life that she asked for help when she was struggling. So.
Dear Younger Me, I know there was a point in time when staying wasn't a realistic thought, and there were nights that felt like they could have been your last. But as time went on, you realize that life goes on.
Everything is okay now because you were resilient. You stayed.
I want to thank you for getting the help that you needed and deserved. Admitting that you needed help was probably one of the hardest things you've ever done, but it was so worth it.
Every feeling is only temporary.
The feelings that were at one point unbearable became less frequent, and most importantly, you realize that life is worth living. The mountains, dancing, the days when you can't stop laughing, flowers, the ocean. These little things are what make life so unique and wonderful.
The truth is that bad thoughts are inevitable. They're not unavoidable, they're totally normal.
People do care about you and want to be there for you, and you will find those people. I promise things will get better.
Your biggest, most important relationship is the one you have with yourself.
I'm proud of you for asking for help and taking the first step.
And yes, it is hard, and that's no secret, but you did it. Thank you for holding on one more day.
Thank you for realizing you have a purpose.
Thank you for finding trusting people to talk to.
Thank you for growing from moments that felt like the end. Thank you for finding the little moments and holding on to them.
But most importantly,
thank you for staying.
So not only did Erin win the Magnified Voices Art Contest for 2021, but this video received a lot of impact on YouTube and other social media platforms. And Erin is currently a guest speaker for NAMI New Hampshire, where she goes around and she tells her story about resilience and the importance of mental health. So this slide on how to take care of yourself when you're stressed, we put this at the end of our presentations because it's a lot of content, and it's pretty heavy content over 2 days for the students that we teach. So we like to put this slide at the end because it's simple tips that they can really resonate with and just kind of debrief with after 2 days of long training. So ask for help and talk to others. We really like to emphasize this. Obviously, throughout our whole presentation, we really talk about how important it is to not go through something alone. While they're presenting, we actually have them brainstorm at least 3 people off the top of their head that they would feel comfortable going to if they were ever struggling with something. Getting plenty of rest, drinking plenty of water, and avoiding caffeine. I especially like to emphasize the caffeine one because I myself have a caffeine problem, so I really like to say that one. Do not use alcohol or other drugs, exercising, or even just getting outside, and then using relaxation skills like breath work and journaling.
We always end with this, be a part of the solution and make a difference. And really you just do that by showing up with people that are in your sphere of influence. And I just want to take a special moment and thank these kids and our other NAMI leaders because I did some calculations, and I think by the end of this year, they will have presented to almost 900 students. Wow. Which is absolutely incredible. So good job. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, of course I'm going to have one. So when the beginning of your presentations to maybe like the last one, have you seen a difference in the way you're being received by the other students?
I definitely think like the early presentations, like we weren't as comfortable presenting it, so maybe the participation, wasn't as high, but I feel like as we've gotten better at the presentation, we've seen a lot more kind of participation and like feedback that we've been able to take in and improve the presentation. So I feel like it's been like perceived and kind of taken in a lot better recently than it has even our first year or the beginning of this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think also for me, being a youth leader has made me develop as a student and as a teacher in so many ways. Being able to speak about something so, again, sensitive as this topic, being able to kind of connect with kids on it, and also being able to learn how to teach about a topic like this has made me just, like, overwhelming be able to talk to other people better. I mean, especially for me, COVID really impacted me socially, and so once we hit, so last year was my training, so junior year, being an upperclassman and then also learning all these new skills and meeting all these new students, it's been an absolutely incredible opportunity. Going back to like kind of maybe more focusing on your question, I think that in hopes of the 8th grade and freshman kids coming into their senior or sophomore wellness classes have already going through and meeting some of us, I think it's going to hopefully be able to be a really good impact on them. This will be, you know, once they've already been kind of meeting people, meeting upperclassmen that are comfortable talking about it, and then also have talked about it in maybe their sending schools or maybe their freshman seminar classes around their peers already, I think it's going to be a really positive impact on their sophomore and then even later down the road their senior wellness classes.
Yeah, and to add on to what Sadie and Annabelle said, I've seen a tremendous growth in their participation because we do reiterate a lot of main topics, like it's okay to talk about it, you're not putting it in somebody's head, we have these resources for you. And I think when we reiterate that and we put those into kids' head, that it's a public health issue, we really emphasize on that it's just as important as some other things that we've all gone through, like COVID, or some of those public health issues. I think kids really understand that it's something that we all have a part in making a difference of, and I think kids start to have that confidence in themselves that they can also help somebody else going through a situation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anybody
Very
else?
important work.
It is extremely important, and thank you for all the time and passion that you put into it. It means a lot, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You just
Yes. Thank you. Oh, look at this. It's 7:01. We're done with any other public comment? No. Okay. Public comment is closed. Next is the Look Up campaign.
All right. I'm Zoe, and I'm the president of Look Up.
Hi, I'm Ali Castagna. I'm a senior member of the Look Up Club.
Hi, I'm Marin. I'm a sophomore and future president of the Look Up Club.
So the Look Up Club was created last year by Mrs. Hall, Mr. Miller, and Mrs. Fegan, and it started out as a committee of student council members who helped get the ball rolling, and then this year we turned the committee into its own club, and we got a lot of other members that weren't in student council. And so the goal of Look Up is to build a culture of connection, which basically means that we're trying to get both students and teachers to collaborate and communicate more. We focus on spreading awareness about balancing phone and social media use and the effects that they have on mental health. And we want to emphasize that phones and social media aren't bad, they just need to be used mindfully and responsibly. And cell phones and social media aren't just a student and teenager issue, it's a community issue, which is why in our efforts as a club, we involve students and staff because everyone needs to be more aware of using cell phones responsibly and balancing them with real-world interactions.
All right, so
You can take it out of if you want. If it's easier to hold it, it might, maybe.
I don't know how to get it out.
Hold. There you go.
So what have we done? We've done Phone Free Fridays, which is a monthly Friday event during lunch. We host different activities. We've done. We've had other clubs do Shrek trivia. I know Theater Club did Shrek, and then Student Council did a Christmas Carol competition. But the best part about these Phone Free Fridays is that students are seen looking up, no pun intended, around the halls during passing periods. I've seen way more students talking to friends and teachers, etc., way more participation. I've seen a lot of kids have a better engagement in classrooms. I feel like there's a big difference in distractions, obviously. When you don't have your phone, you're obviously more, you're paying attention to things in class. And then we've also talked about having our own hosting our own phone-free activities during lunch. Since other clubs have done Jeopardy, we'd probably do something similar to that. We've also done Talking Tuesdays, which is another monthly event where we encourage communication and collaboration between students. We hope to create a bunch of pre-created conversation prompts, questions, things more elaborate than what's your favorite color, but other things to just kind of get a conversation started. Our goal is to spend more socials time, talking instead of just texting. A lot of our world is very online right now, and a lot of people's social skills have not been as great as they have in past years because we just do it all on text. You can delete something if you forget to say something or whatever. But we're also thinking of, we've thrown out an idea of creating those like telephone tear-off sheets. Like instead of having phone numbers, write like a discussion prompt or a question for people to grab, like walking through the halls to ask their friends throughout the day or their teachers. Another big event that we've done was the community screening of the Screenagers movie, where students and parents and other members of the community came to the school to watch the movie. The movie is basically about the growing digital age and what it's like to grow up in the digital age and all of the new technology that we've been exposed to. It focuses on the effect of social media on students and teenagers and the kind of effect that being part of this huge open internet world has on like growing minds. We had a student panel be present at this movie screening. Some of the members from Look Up, some members were not. But that night to share some of their personal experiences with social media and phones and how it affects us in school and outside of school. Luckily, we were given a grant last year for licensing for educational lessons on digital wellness and the screening of 3 movies. Screenagers was one of the 3. And then the Unplugged Challenge, which is ultimately the biggest thing that we have done so far. We held the second Unplugged Challenge this year at WHS, which challenges the community, like teachers and students, to put their phones away for an entire school day. Basically, the day before, we had students sign a pledge, just like, my name is this, and this is the reason why I'm gonna choose to unplug. People talked about, like, I wanna get to know my friends more, or I want to get to know my teachers more, all that kind of thing. Like, I need a mental reset day, like a ton of different reasons. I wish we would have put up a picture of like an example of one. But the pledge that everyone signed in the morning, the day of, was signed by students and teachers, and I think it was estimated that about like 300 people participated in that, which was amazing. And then we started out this year by giving out like cell phone hotels to teachers that they can use in their classrooms. So, like, when you walk in, you have like, I guess you don't really have an assigned hotel space, but you can put your phone in the hotel and you go sit down and you grab it on the way out. It's just another good way to keep students engaged and not really distracted during class. We'd also like to get other clubs involved as well to like lead more student activities. We've also put up posters talking about these, or advertising for these Talking Tuesdays about the general idea of like getting off your phone and being present, etc.
Okay, so as we move forward with our Unplug initiative, our focus is really to deepen our impact and strengthen our connections across our community. So to do this, we really would like to collaborate with our surrounding schools like Portsmouth and Exeter. We think we could really increase participation, especially with the Unplug Challenge, by making it a competition with Exeter, maybe during Exeter Week. We also think it is very important because we can share resources, ideas, and experiences, and this would amplify the positive effects of this movement and create a more unified message of or around digital wellness. And to us, it is about building a network of support that extends beyond Winnacunnet. And then we would love to renew our movie license, which would allow us to continue showing Screenagers, which is really powerful to spark conversations through our student panel and questions from the parents and community members that came. And it really helped to like start a self-reflection and start change and like so people like, because I feel like it's a topic that is overlooked, and I think it helped to bring light to it. And then we're also really hoping to integrate key lessons from our initiative, like how mental health is affected by social media and how students' education can also be affected by it in good and bad ways, into our wellness and freshman seminar classes, similar to how NAMI comes in to teach them. Because by weaving these ideas into an ongoing curriculum, students have more of an opportunity to reflect on their digital habits and prioritize mindfulness, focus, and real-world connection. And we think it's really important for students to hear these topics from their peers because it can be a lot more meaningful coming from students and people their own age. And then finally, our biggest goal is to keep building a culture of connection, whether it's through unplugged activities, classroom discussions, peer-led programs. We want students to feel more present, more supported, and more connected to the people around them. And together, these next steps will ensure that the lookup message doesn't fade and it becomes a part of who we are at Winnacunnet. Thank you.
Question, so you said you're looking for, you got a grant last year, right? How much is the grant that you're looking for, do you know?
I'm waiting for information from the Screenagers project. We got a grant last year for the licensing was $1,550.
Okay.
And so for one school it's $1,550. I believe for a district it would be $25 around there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, one of the things that we discussed is that there's multiple Screenager movies. So we show the one that we showed last year, early in September, but there's versions to high school and elementary levels.
Okay.
Have both those here at the high school, possibly one showing in the dining hall, one in the auditorium, and then a month or so later, getting the next sequence.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're thinking about doing it this May, but there's just so many things going on in May that we'll try to
Right.
figure out when we can do it.
Yeah, I know.
There is what is the group? The Friends of Winnacunnet. They gave a ton of grants.
Oh, we'll be able to find money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll find the money. I was just, that's what I think that was my point was, yeah, we'll find that money,
We'll find
for
it.
sure,
There's-
yeah.
There's some groups I can go to.
Yeah,
The
I think
grant
so.
is really nice because it has it's a trilogy that really works together. It has the growing up in the digital age. It has digital health, mental health, and now I'm going to forget what the third one is. But it also has a series of lessons that we've been distributing in the wellness classes. So the sophomore and the senior wellness classes have done it, and we went in, and I did freshman seminar classes this year, but I'm hoping to, give it to the students for all the reasons that they said, because if it's student-led, I think students
I
listen
think it's
more.
awesome, yeah.
It's great.
And even the phone-free Fridays or whatnot, and doing it at lunches and stuff, and I just have this vision of the old, Trivial Pursuit boxes of questions, just having those on all the tables, and it's just like, right? I mean, it's just
Those are
like,
fun.
they're
Maybe not
fun.
the 1980s edition.
Yeah, we could give them the 80s edition and just, see what they have to do. They'd need their phones to call their parents, but, even something like that, even coming up with different versions of something like that you could leave on tables would be fun too, because it would, like you said, having the pull-offs of, questions that you could ask, it would be kind of something like that too, which would be neat too. But thank you so much for this program. It's amazing. You guys are.
This feeds right into what the last group presented.
Yeah, I know.
Culture of connection.
And connects to middle school in that realm as well.
Right. Any other questions, guys?
No, thank you.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, girls. Ooh, sorry.
Okay, we have one more. Donna, we have another presentation? What?
During her
Do it during her report.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll do Winnacunnet Pride.
All right.
Zoe, you're up again.
So, over the past month for Student Council, we did community service at the Partridge House. We went and played Are You Smarter Than a High Schooler with the elderly people, and they got a kick
Love
out
it.
of that. We submitted our application to the NH Association of Student Councils for the Honor Council Award. And we have elections for next year's officers happening next week. So the next meeting, I'll be bringing next year's student body president with me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Callie.
That went fast.
I know. And then we're also hoping to have some fun end of the year activities in May. And then we're going to the State House in Concord on May 23rd for our final conference. And we have the juniors finalizing prom and the seniors finalizing senior banquet and senior week activities. So exciting stuff. Best Buddies hosted their craft fair here this past Sunday. Sustainability Club had their clothing swap on April 5th. We had the Culture Matters performance by Kotoko Brass from Ghana on April 4th. This past Monday was the Dallas Brass Band concert with the Winnacunnet Band here, and the Tri-M Music Honor Society is hosting their coffee house on May 22nd. And then for sports, they've all begun, all spring sports are going, and they're going pretty well. So
Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and I was also privileged to go to the Air Force Academy band over the weekend. Amazing. It was another Winnacunnet-based performance. So hats off to whoever organized that great event.
Awesome. All right. We have the minutes from March 19th. Can I have a motion, or are there any corrections or comments on them? If not, could I have a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 19th for the regular meeting and public hearings.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Reports. It's you.
I'm first.
You're first.
So the first thing I wanted to just remind everyone of is our upcoming legislative meeting. So April 10th was crossover day in the New Hampshire legislature. So next Monday, in conjunction with SAU 90, we'll be meeting with, we've invited all of our local legislators. I know at least a handful have confirmed that they will be there, but to discuss the remaining bills that will impact public education should they move forward. So we hope you will be able to attend that evening. That is open to the public and is held right here in the lecture hall. I think we're starting at 6 p.m. on Monday. And school board members, you have access to the weekly updates from the New Hampshire School Board Association, which provides some additional information about those. I'm sure someone will talk about this, but it was SAT and PSAT day here today, so very busy at the high school. And for our students in grades 3 through 8, which doesn't affect you right now, but it will, because they're also going to be taking the state assessment coming up after April vacation, so that data gets passed on, obviously, here to the high school. And those results, SAT results, take a few weeks typically, but students will get those results once they're made available. Student leadership team, I think I filled you in on our last discussion, which related to technology, data privacy, artificial intelligence. We were scheduled to go to Primex today. We scheduled that several months ago, but unfortunately, because it was SAT and PSAT day, we did not have enough students who were going to be able to attend. So we canceled that, but we will meet again in May. It was Educational Associates Appreciation Day on April 3rd, but we were able to recognize them on April 2nd when we had our SAU-wide Professional Development Day. And I just want to acknowledge the important role those individuals play in the day-to-day functioning of our students particularly, but also of our classrooms and our schools as a whole. We really could not get our work done without them. They make a huge difference. And I will leave it there. I will jump to Dr. Castley's report as she is not here, but highlighting that Professional Development Day that we had SAU-wide. So the morning we were all together focusing on our carrying over that work that we've been doing over the last year around universal design for learning, but really with a focus on student-led work, transferring the ownership of learning to students, right? It's not up to me as a teacher to engage you in your learning. It's partly my job, but you also have to be engaged, and you have to understand who you are as a learner, and that's certainly the journey of students as they grow older. You saw in these presenters this evening, right, the ownership that they've taken over their journeys, and that is really important, right? You have to know who you are, know what your strengths are, know what you're working on, so that you are ready to function when you move on in the world. So it was an engaging day, and I am grateful to all of our staff because the afternoon people had choice about what activities they wanted to participate in. So one of the things we talk to staff about is giving students choices, because when you have choices about how you're engaging in your work or demonstrating what you're learning, you're more likely to find something that you can connect with. And so we gave staff that opportunity in the afternoon to participate in a variety of activities that were led by members of our faculty. Shay also talked about some of the SAU-wide work that's going on in science, so groups meeting vertically across our schools, middle and high school together, and across our elementary schools to really focus in on our science curriculum. And I'm missing one thing from her report, but I don't remember what it is. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Toomey.
Just
It's
as
in
a
there.
note, we don't have the other reports in here.
They're not in
Yeah,
there.
they're not in
We
here.
only have
Yeah.
Dr. Toomey's report.
Yeah, we don't have
Oh,
yours or
great.
Shay's.
Yeah.
They must have missed the
upload.
deadline.
Yeah. Love it.
Rhonda tries to keep us all on track
She
with our
does,
dates,
but it's
so, yeah.
You guys are a tough crowd to wrangle in.
Just, I have a couple of updates for you, but I also wanted to mention all the goings-on that happen here at Winnacunnet is so amazing. Last yesterday afternoon, 4 to 6 p.m., we hosted here at Winnacunnet, and it was planned by Deb Bostrom, and A.B. Terrian had a hand in that too, but a transitions fair along with Exeter Seacoast for the whole Seacoast region. We had close to 40 vendors here, taking a look at how our students with disabilities then begin thinking about their transitions to community and adulthood, and so getting those resources out to them in a really great way. So the fair was very well attended. It was wonderful. Superintendent and I stopped in to see it, and it was just really nice to see. So hopefully Winnacunnet will continue to be the host partner for that event moving forward. A lot of work goes into it. Just want to really shout out Deb and Amy for what they did there. And then you recall that last month, Patrice Baker came and asked you to spread the word for the literacy event, family literacy event, happened this past Saturday here at Winnacunnet. It was so beautiful. Curious George and Superintendent Nato was making the yellow hats and cutting them out and getting all the kids ready for that, and there was reading aloud and singing, and books went home, and we had close to 100 families, and so the cafeteria was alive, the dining hall, with all kinds of wonderful literacy support. So thank you for hosting that event here as well.
Including some support from high school students.
Oh, you should have mentioned that. The high school students are the highlight, right? They helped us out last year too, but they were great. They even made posters and about the importance of literacy, and couldn't have done it without them.
They were much more proficient hat makers than I was.
They were fancy, those hats. They were
I had to get
they were
special
pretty
permission to
fancy.
use
So
grown-up scissors.
yeah. So it was great. So
It
thanks
sounds like
again.
it was a great event. My husband and my youngest went, and they came home with a bag full of books.
Great.
The reading chart, and it was funny because I got the reading chart 20 minutes, and my 4-year-old was so excited to get started.
Good, they
so
pledged.
that night, she said, "Start your watch."
Nice.
20 minutes goes a lot longer than you think when it's bedtime. I said, 20 minutes? We do that every night, Lennon.
Oh,
no. It was more books than I thought, so it's been keeping me in check as well. So
That's
thank you
good.
to everyone involved.
Yes,
Sounds like
so
it was a
great,
event.
so positive. So thank you for that.
So
Little
cute.
preview, next month, next meeting, I'll be coming to you with the annual presentation. We received our LEA determinations on April 1st, so we'll be going over the presentation and looking at all of that. But before that, on March 10th, the district received a letter from the Bureau of Special Education Support regarding indicators 4A and 4B. There's many indicators that go into the determinations, but this one is about a discrepancy that occurs. The first part of it, 4A, is about having students who are suspended long-term, 10 days or more, and for students with disabilities, when that number becomes 3.5 times greater than the state average, they consider that a discrepancy. They want to keep that number in line with what's happening for students across the state and students without disabilities. Part B takes a look at the same information, but they disaggregate it across race and ethnicity, and so we also had a discrepancy there. So we received that on March 10th, and they gave us until March 14th to review the district's policies, procedures, and to write a response and provide all that information back to the state. So there's a little more information about that. If you scroll down to page 2 of the report, you'll see that on March 21st, we received a follow-up letter, and it said that there was no evidence, once they reviewed all of the materials that were submitted, there was no evidence found that the district's policies and procedures caused a significant discrepancy. There's no further action needed by the district. So no corrective action cited as a result of that. However, it was a positive outcome for us, but it is important that we closely monitor disciplinary practices around long-term suspensions, students who are being suspended 10 days or more for students with disabilities. The school has done a wonderful job of pursuing some alternatives to suspension. We have a partnership that's going very well with Seacoast Youth Services and trying to get kids not to spend time at home, but to have a more therapeutic intervention if they need it. Oftentimes, students with disabilities do require that kind of second look, and I know that we meet often with the folks in guidance, the folks in special ed, and try to think of alternatives and other things that we can do. And we're obligated to really take a hard look at students who are at risk for significant disciplinary action and make sure that the programming that we're supplying for them is meeting their needs as well. So Amy Tarian does a great job, our special services director, and her team. And so we just want to keep our eyes focused on where that is. But we had great news in the end. Any questions regarding that? Okay. And then the next part is a real shout out to you and thank you for the support that you gave with our opportunity to partner with Who We Play For. And we offered an opportunity for electrocardiogram screenings so that we could take a look at the potential risk of sudden cardiac arrest. It was hugely successful here at Winnacunnet and across the SAU. We screened across our SAU 176 students were screened, and 4 of those students were actually referred for follow-up across the SAU. And the folks at Who We Play For just wanted to thank everybody for welcoming them and for being so organized, and our nurses and everybody at the school did such a wonderful job of getting everything together and getting everything ready. And across New Hampshire, since they started the initiative in November, 398 students have been screened. So we had a significant number in that. And of those statewide, 12 students were identified as moderate risk, and 2 students were actually identified as high risk. Wow. So if this work that we did at a very reduced cost, thanks to that partnership of the nonprofit, can save and help one family, one kiddo, we've done our job. And so we'd like to partner again next year for folks that may have missed it and may want an opportunity. They recommend it every other year, so we'd be looking at getting different kids in. So just want to thank you because your support was very meaningful in getting the word out and helping our kids come forward.
Great, thank you.
Any questions for me?
Any questions for Mary? All set.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Briefly, I know Tracy mentioned the Air Force Academy Band, and Zoe mentioned Monday night the Dallas Brass, but I just want to give a shout out to the music department for coordinating those events. They also, ran sound for our presenter on April 2nd and helped out with some technical difficulty with audio, and Griffin, who's here, helped with that as well. But we had students who participated and played with the Air Force Academy Band, and then on Monday night, Co-Brown students were here as well. And we played host to them through the day, which is a little bit of a topsy-turvy day for them at their school. But our middle schoolers also came up starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to rehearse together, and we're here through the duration until that performance on Monday evening. So a lot of work.
A lot of work.
We appreciate their efforts, and they make a difference in the lives of a lot of kids. So.
We do. Thank you. Principal's report.
Okay, good evening. Most of my items are later in the agenda, so I'll be coming back.
Okay.
But the some great news is the new entrance sign on Winnacunnet Road is now working. It's operational. So thank you to the Friends of Winnacunnet for that. Enrollments are steady, and next week we have a quiet week.
Yeah.
And we have a spring break because when we come back in May, it just doesn't stop.
Oh, my Lord.
But before I go to that, I just want to mention, we spoke about the transition fair, but we did get an email from the vocational rehabilitation program at the Department of Education. Had a blast. Best transition fair I've done in 10 years that have worked. So
That's awesome. Congratulations to everybody who worked on that.
But yeah, we had the PSAT, SAT testing today. Everything went well. All that testing is now online, so students had to do it through the Chromebooks. We had no major issues. Some students didn't have the Chromebook charger, forgot the charger, but overall, the Wi-Fi worked. We had no issues. And then when we get back, first we get back, we got trimester 3 parent conferences. The Winnacunnet Art Show is the following week, followed up by the 10-minute plays. Juniors are looking forward to the junior prom and more testing come the state science assessment. We'll have a 2-hour delayed opening then. Some award ceremonies, Winnacunnet Coffee House by the music department. And actually they're pretty busy too because they've got jazz at the Seashell and the spring concert. So that will get us through May, and June doesn't slow down either.
Thank you. I just bounced myself out of it. What do we have next? Sorry, can you?
No. Well, Amy Terrian's report is there for special services, and Donna is here to deliver the curriculum report.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't know why I just did that. I just want to.
Good evening.
Right.
So there was a couple of items that are in my report that I know Bill is going to discuss. The NEASC updates. I won't go into a ton of detail. The other piece of it is I just wanted to let you know that our last round of embedded PD began this week. And as I've reported out every single month, we've been making so much progress. The breadth of work is just astounding. It really has all tied into our school growth plan. So the thing that we are reporting out first to NEASC is our May 1st report out is really the update on the school growth plan. And so all throughout the year, our staff have worked incredibly to see progress made on that growth plan. So what is linked, Bill had linked it in his report, it's linked in my report, is the document that we've been updating. So it's not completely finished, but it will be finished next week, again, so that we can report that out to NEASC on May 1st. You can just see, it was humbling to see just how much effort we've made all year long on all of the different tasks that we outlined, and staff had full contribution to what that growth plan turned out to be. And they proved it in the work and the priorities that they made in their own embedded PD project, because most of them chose something that tied in systemically. So certainly there were activities, and I know I've shared those throughout the months this school year. There were a lot of things that staff worked on that pertain to their own personal classroom and their curriculum, but the majority of the things that staff worked on really were affecting the system as a whole, our culture as a whole, and they worked in small committees. So it is, as we're putting all of those updates together in that document, we got I went through the first goal, the first theme. It took me hours because there was just, to be able to populate it with evidence and artifacts and the updates from all of that committee work. Like I said, it was humbling. It was just such great work. So I'm really proud of the staff this year, and we made a lot of progress on that report. So that is going to be reported out to NEASC next week. So you'll see that. We're also making a lot of headway in the scheduling timeline. You can see we've sort of progressed through that. Numbers for course selections went to departments this week. So they're beginning the conversations that are going to start to build our schedule for next year. So we're on time so far. I feel like once we get back from April vacation, that's where it's going to all come together. And the hope is that students will walk away with their schedules in June for next year. So far we're on track for that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Holly Library update. I've talked about the renovation committee that they're putting together, and Nicole generously offered to sit on that committee. So I just wrote in the report the people that are represented on that committee and the work that they're beginning to do. So they had their first meeting, and they'll continue to meet several times between now and the fall, and hopefully we'll give you an update on what their proposals are next year for any budgetary considerations to see that come to fruition. So aside from that, the other thing that's not in my report, but since we're talking about things to celebrate, when we come back from April break, the first week is Teacher Appreciation Week. And if you haven't seen it in our announcements, one of our embedded PD projects was how do we celebrate staff? And so one of the small items that we did was create a Google form that was placed on our website where anybody from the community and students can thank a teacher, thank a staff member. So you fill out the form, you say, give your sentiment, and the first kickoff, we're hoping to share those when we come back from April break during that week with the staff members that are thanked.
So those are they're on the website?
So there's a
anybody
link
can do
on
it,
our
right?
website main page.
Perfect.
Yep. So spread the word, use that,
Awesome.
and
Yes.
we're hoping to spread a lot of that love when we come back from April break. Okay, so heard enough from me. I have 2 students here that I really want you guys to talk about, or have them talk about their ELO updates. So I'm going to start with Annabelle. She's a busy girl tonight, so she's going to come talk about something really special.
Hi again, everybody. So as I said before, my name's Annabelle Holmes, and I'm again a senior here this year. I've been very fortunate to be able to work with the ELO department over the last kind of 3 years I've been here at Winnacunnet, and basically it's my last trimester here as a student, and I kind of wanted to focus my ELO on something to not only learn more about the department itself, but also focus on skills like learning leadership and personal advocacy in a workplace environment that I can also apply to in my post-secondary choices. So something that kind of allowed me to do both of those things is planning what used to be an annual event here, the ELO Expo. So I'm very excited to announce that on May 27th, from 4:30 to 6 p.m., we are going to be hosting that here in the dining hall. This expo kind of allows students to present their ELO finals in a different format than usual, but then it also allows for teachers, community partners, and even other students to see kind of what the other students around them are doing and different opportunities that they have. Ms. Couture included the poster in her curriculum report, and please feel free to share that with anyone who you think would be interested in kind of celebrating people's accomplishments. So thank you all so much for your time.
Awesome.
And I hope
Thank
to see
you for
all
bringing
there.
it back. No, thank you for bringing it. It is always a great day, so I think that's awesome to bring it back. Appreciate it.
So you can tell she's our ELO ambassador.
Yeah.
This trimester. She's been doing great. So we have one more last presentation. Really excited about Jenna's ELO, so she's going to come talk to you about that. You might have heard a little something about it. We received funding for her ELO from the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation, so thanks to Linda and that group for offering this. But I'm going to have Jenna come up and talk a little bit about it.
Hi guys, I'm Jenna. I'm a senior at Winnacunnet this year, and throughout my senior year, all year I've been working on my ELO. So this ELO kind of started for me. I was working at the Sea Catch, and one of my coworkers, Carolyn Eastman, we kind of like started a conversation about, Winnacunnet, and because I go here. And she told me that she worked a lot with Portrait of a Learner. So, and one of her things that, she was kind of working on was with a chef, his name is Dan Dumont. They were really eager to sort of bring the idea of healthy eating on a budget into the Winnacunnet community. So when she told me this, I wanted to bring that forward and do something about it, do something with it. So I met with Dan and Carolyn at KB's during the summer, and we discussed ways that we could maybe implement this into the Winnacunnet community. And we decided to put together a survey asking students, how do you feel about cooking after, cooking, can you make a meal for yourself? And after high school, do you know how to budget your groceries do you know how to grocery shop? Just simple things that really fit into Portrait of a Learner, getting kids ready for after high school. So we ended up deciding that we wanted to, put on some sort of event. And then once the school year started, I presented my idea as an ELO to Ms. Couture, and we started working on it. And with that, we set up series of meetings all throughout, the school year, probably about once a month, I would say. And we talked about like what we wanted, kids, like, who we wanted to like be impacted, and why we what we wanted them to learn. So the example that Dan used very often was if you could go to the grocery store with, I don't know, $100, and buy ingredients, how many meals could you make with that? And like the benefit of having that be like a healthy option, like as an alternative, like as like going to fast food like McDonald's or something like that. So he was really excited about this chicken idea. So he was, he said, if you could buy a rotisserie chicken and some vegetables and some other ingredients, like what are meals that you could prep throughout the week, like so you could just make that easily for yourself. So if you have a rotisserie chicken, you can make chicken soup, you can make a chicken tortilla, like chicken quesadilla, chicken pot pie, chicken sandwich, anything really. So that kind of was like the foundation of what we wanted our cooking nights to be. So once we came to that conclusion, it was a matter of putting all the pieces together. So getting funding, and like Ms. Couture said, we got funding from the Winnacunnet, or Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation, thanks to Ms. Libby over here, and then that contributed to the groceries, and then from there that was like partnering with like our community partners. Dan brought in another chef. Her name's Jody Hollahan, who they both donated their time to teach students how to cook, and then I created a Google form through a flyer that was posted on the daily announcements, so students were able to sign up for it, and we advertised it as like learn how to make your own meals on a budget. So once students signed up and attended the night, we had 12 students, and we held them right here in the kitchen, the cooking kitchens, and it was 2 hours long, and they learned how to make chicken pot pies, their own little personal chicken pot pies. They learned how to make chicken soup. We made a big chicken soup, just like everybody put in their scraps kind of, and then a chicken quesadilla. And then so kids actually got to learn how to make those things. And then for me, the budgeting part was like, like if you have the money that you need to go make yourself a meal, like knowing that it's okay, like sometimes kids get like nervous about going to the grocery store. How am I gonna buy ingredients? Am I gonna use them again? Am I gonna buy it one time then never see it and just gonna sit in my pantry? Mm-hmm. So we gave them recipe cards of all the ingredients that we used to make those meals, and additional recipes with similar ingredients. So you're not like you're not wasting any ingredients, and you can use like multi-purpose throughout the week. So we gave that to them with like a price breakdown. So then that was kind of like my whole ELO. We're looking to do another night kind of focus on breakfast, because that's also another thing that kids just skip over and don't even eat breakfast. But if you can get them excited about prepping breakfast for the week, it could be something that kids are super interested in. So we got feedback from the kids who attended that night, and that's sort of like in the works now. But yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, because I would say 90% of the kids that start college have no idea how to cook for themselves, or or not even just college, outside, getting out of home. Or adults, yeah, okay. Ice cubes I can do some days, but not all. Is it something that, do you think, and maybe this is for Donna too, but is it something that can be incorporated into our home ec class that we have, like, having something like that, this project, which I think is amazing?
Right. Well, I think it totally can be, and we were kind of like thinking about that at first, but what I really wanted to do was just get it out there and like get it like kind of rolling. Right. But I could totally see it like being something incorporated in like a unit, maybe like a week-long unit of like, today we're gonna learn how to do chicken, tomorrow we're gonna learn how to do breakfast or something like that. Or we also thought about it as like, I don't know if this would make sense, but like in like wellness classes, maybe like that could be a unit, like couple day unit where you go down to the cooking kitchens and get kids familiar with that, because I think it fits into that aspect of Portrait of a Learner more so, like, you know, kids' wellness and, like, you know, making sure that kids aren't like
Right, exactly, right? Yeah.
You know, it sounds delicious. Are the recipes available anywhere?
Yeah, we should have brought the extras. I should have thought of that. We
Can you
did have
just
some extra
scan 'em and
recipes.
send 'em to
Yeah,
the
I
committee?
can definitely do that.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that our food and nutrition courses, they do offer this very similar thing. I think the thing that we were discussing were could her model live in other classes? And,
Right. I like
and,
the
and they do
wellness.
talk about budget too in the food and nutrition class, but we also thought like the exposure for it, right? It's not a graduation requirement to take that class, so how many students? So the more we can do this in the more places, so students can practice this, and then this is a sort of a one-off experience. It's not within a course, it's sort of after school, so does that model work really well? So we did have Evan help out, so he is a student who has taken food and nutrition courses. Is he a sophomore?
He's a freshman. I thought he was a freshman.
I think he's a sophomore.
Oh,
He was wonderful, and he's been wanting to start a club that would do just this, and he hasn't been able to get that off the ground necessarily. There's some funding that we have to discuss around that, but so we offered to bring him into this, and it's been really helpful because as Jenna looks to graduate and we look to want to keep this going, again, the idea is exposure. So we do have these things happening in pockets throughout our curriculum and doing really, really well with that, but we want to keep adding more opportunities for students to experience it in different ways.
I think I just, like, I see it going so crazy. Like, I could see, you know, the guest chefs coming in and different one, you know, like the local, right? We have so many around in this area that I could just see that becoming something really cool.
The two chefs, like Jenna said, were so passionate and so generous with their time. They came in, like Jenna said, once a month for like an hour meeting to go over this and review this, and not to mention the 2 hours they dedicated and the prep work for it. So they not asking for anything in return except to just give back what they're passionate about. And so I do believe that we have a lot of that in our community. Hampton's really fantastic like that, and our ELO program is proof at just how many of our community partners want to give back and want to help our students prepare for life after high school.
Right.
So,
No, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions or?
Any other questions? Sorry, or comments? Sorry.
Yeah, just waiting for those recipes.
I just wanted to add that I got to watch you in action, and I was so impressed. It went
Thank you.
off. It was so smoothly run. It was like
Nice.
a well-oiled machine. It was so prepared.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I appreciate it.
I just had to add, because people don't realize how many incredibly famous Winnacunnet alumni we have, and I just have to add, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Danny Dumont is a very famous chef. He is one of 69 chefs in the world that is a master chef classification. It is a 10-day, 14-hour long, 14 hours a day for 10 days in a row test, and only 69 people in the world have that classification. So he is a certified master chef, and he worked with her.
I know.
So
It's
thank you,
awesome.
Danny Dumont.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Great job.
Thank you so much, Jenna. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you, yeah.
Continued success too.
Yeah.
What are you doing next year?
I'm going to the University of Tampa.
Oh, I know that school well.
In Florida.
Yep. Oh,
So.
Smart girl. It's
Yeah.
warm.
Yeah.
I
Thank
love
you
it. Well,
guys.
best of
Appreciate
luck.
it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bring it home.
Yep. I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Night.
Cue the Exodus. Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry. He thought she was coming back for you.
Right.
Thanks,
she,
Zoe.
she didn't want to miss the finance report. So I have attached the year-to-date expenditure and revenue reports on board docs for your review. To date, we have a negative balance of approximately $270,000 based on our current expenditures and revenue. That's in line with what we've been reporting out the last number of months. I will note that the trustees of the trust funds did meet yesterday for their April meeting, and they did approve the withdrawal of funds from the health insurance and building maintenance expendable trusts to cover those deficits, alongside the available funds we have from surplus revenue and any potential retained balance funds that we have at our disposal. However, that's only if necessary. So we are tracking well to finish off this challenging fiscal year. Of course, we do still have 2.5 months remaining, so we are monitoring for any additional unanticipated costs. Principal McGowan has assured me that there will be no unanticipated costs that he foresees.
That's no plows.
So I also wanted to bring your attention to an email notification that I've included in board docs that we received from the New Hampshire Department of Education. So the DOE, they do conduct fiscal monitoring, so it's essentially an audit of our federal grants. And that's because we are a subrecipient through the state for any federal funds. So they did inform us that based upon their review and we also conduct a special single audit as part of our audit with Plodzik and Sanderson, specific to our federal funds. They have not identified any issues of concern relative to the district's management or expenditure of any of our federal fund grants. So that was for FY24, this last fiscal year. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, although anticipate everyone wants to move along on their evening.
No, thank you, Matt. Facilities reports in there. Do you want to stay up though and do your? No, you can sit down for a sec. We got a while. Communications committee update.
I don't have much to report. We didn't meet this past month or this month. We'll be sending out our SAU 21 joint calendar and newsletter before April break. And that will be our last send out of the year, and then we'll start planning a plan for next year.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, thank you. School board committee appointments. So we have in our board docs, you can see
the list and who's currently serving.
right.
I think both was
Both are on
serving.
there, right?
Yep.
So
So the first one on the list was operations committee.
yep,
And I think Nicole, you're probably still
I was gonna stay.
stay on
Yeah.
that one. Okay. Yep.
the vice chair, but you will need an alternate.
I'll be the alternate. I can be the alternate if you want.
Next was policy committee, and that was Tamara.
Tracy was interested in that
Yeah,
one.
I have an interest in that if that's all right.
Great. And an alternate for policy.
I mean, I can stay alternate, but if someone else wants to be alternate,
Are you already alternate on something?
I'm on the policy committee.
Yeah, I can be the alternate for policy committee. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Desiree. And then we had communications committee.
Desiree, you gonna stay on that one? Do you wanna stay on that one?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's fine with me.
Okay.
Budget committee was Tricia.
She said she'll stay on it unless somebody else wants to jump on. She doesn't mind staying on it. Okay, we'll leave her on there. We need an alternate, right?
Yes.
I mean, I can do that if you want.
Okay.
Alternate for that.
Thank you.
The New Hampshire School Board Association delegate, that is a once a year conference, usually held on a Saturday in October. I do not recall, Desiree, did you go last year?
I did, yep.
Yep.
Yep. I'm fine going again. I always find it very interesting to go, but also for Tracy, I know my first year I was the alternate, but I actually ended up going.
Right, yeah.
And it was super informative for me as a first-time school board member. So if that's something you're interested in, Tracy, and you'd like to go to the delegate assembly, I'd be fine with that, but I'm also, like I said, I always find it interesting to go, and it's actually a fun Saturday.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't say that out
Shucks, I don't wanna
loud.
take it off your plate if it's the.
Yeah. You know what, why don't, you could, you could stay on it and then you could be the alternate, so if
Yeah.
something happens, how about that?
Good
Sure.
plan.
Yeah? Let's do that.
Okay. Look at this.
These are
Ask and you shall
great.
receive
I know,
so
right?
quickly.
I know. I think facilities was the next committee.
Which one? Oh, facility.
Facilities.
Oh, yeah, Tricia's on that. She said she'd stay unless somebody else wants it.
And an alternate.
I could be the alternate for that.
Okay,
Great.
perfect.
Wellness.
I'm only
as
signing
joint-
up for things I might be qualified for.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
You will become qualified.
Exactly, trust me.
Is that what
Yeah.
happens?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yep, exactly.
Wellness and joint loss, it looks like Leslie, you were that person last year, but
Yeah. And I don't even, did we even meet?
yes.
When did we meet?
Meets during the school day, joint loss meets quarterly.
Okay. I have no problem staying on it if you want. Why do I not remember this? Okay.
And we will need an alternate for that.
I can stay the alternate.
Okay.
Great.
What time does it meet during the school day? Before noon?
Usually about 10 o'clock.
Okay, perfect.
Extracurricular stipends committee.
That's
That
just
meets
one-
once in June, one meeting,
I can
usually
probably
after
do
school.
that.
You wanna do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll need an alternate in case she can't.
I can be the alternate on that.
Okay.
And we don't need any of the other
We
ones.
do not need any of the other ones.
Perfect.
No negotiations?
Nope, we're good. Awesome, thank you, everyone.
You will need a motion.
Oh, motion to approve those?
Yes.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the committee appointments as we've all agreed to? And that Meredith wrote down?
I think we both wrote it
You
down.
did? Oh, okay, Mary Margaret did too,
I did,
great.
yeah.
All right, perfect.
Motion to approve the following, to approve the committee appointments as discussed.
Perfect. Yep,
Second.
great, thank you. All those in favor? Beautiful, thank you. Legislative update.
Yeah, I don't need to go into further detail. Again, just a reminder that Monday night will be that opportunity to meet with local legislators about all of the remaining bills.
Perfect. NEASC update.
So, we have to provide a first progress report to NEASC, October 1st. And when NEASC visited us, there were 8 foundational elements that we needed to meet. We met 7 of them. The one that we did not was the school growth plan. So we've been working on that, as Donna had mentioned. We're making great progress. Teachers, it's linked to the Portrait of the Learner. So we've identified strategies and different programs, and you heard some of the stuff about the ELO. So it's just gonna give us an opportunity to map out the future and synthesize and put together in one location all the things that we do in this building.
It'd be nice, right?
Because what the staff do, what the students do, so everybody, right now, throughout the school, the staff is working towards that, you can see the students working towards that, so, the NEAS process is a time to reflect on what we do and how we can improve things, so it provides an opportunity for us to continue what we're doing.
Okay,
Great.
perfect. Calendar.
Yes. So, we had several delayed openings and a snow day. And as a result, rather than extend our last day of school to a Monday, we are looking to make an adjustment to the calendar, which would be to eliminate the May 14th early release and have that be a full day of school.
That makes a heck of a lot more sense than
Lot
going.
better, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Could I get a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to approve the modification to the 2024-25 calendar to be a full day of school on May 14th.
Perfect. Second?
And second?
Great. All those in favor? Perfect, thank you. Tentative last day of school?
So based on that decision, the last day of school for students would be Friday, June 13th. And the last day of school for teachers would be Tuesday, June 17th.
And graduation is Friday, June 6th.
All right, good. Ooh, Friday the 13th. Okay. We
Matt,
have,
you're back up.
yeah.
Yes, 2 bid awards to talk about.
Right, so the bid process has concluded for the proposed staff laptop computer purchase. Bids were sent directly to 6 vendors, and we did receive 2 bids. So we are recommending award of bid to New Era Technology in the amount of $27,231. I will also note that funding for this purchase is from the FY26 operating budget. We had budgeted $52,000, so this is quite a bit under budget. However, please note that the next bid went over, so it's a wash when you look at it in the aggregate. So I'll forewarn you for the next one.
Great.
So we are recommending award of bid for these staff laptops.
Okay. So could I get a motion to award that?
Could I just ask a question? Is this
Oh, yeah.
for, to update computers we currently have, or for more computers that are needed?
It's our replacement cycle, so it's replacing staff laptops. It's
happens to the
33.
What happens to the ones they're using now?
So we have a disposal policy. So if there's any type of market value, which typically there's not, we would try to sell them.
Okay.
But then there's the ability to donate them to either other schools or nonprofits, or offer it to staff and students. And then if it's really of no value to anyone, then it'd be thrown out at that point. But typically we, with any type of disposal, we follow that policy, and we try to either get a value or donate.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, could I get a motion then, please?
Motion to award the FY26 staff computer purchase bid to New Era Technology in the amount of $27,231.
Second?
Seconded?
Perfect. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Perfect, thank you. Go ahead, Matt, Chromebooks.
So the bid process has also concluded for the annual Chromebooks purchase. Again, those bids were sent directly to 6 qualified vendors and 2 submitted bids. So we are also recommending a award of bid to New Era Technology in the amount of $138,250. So that's for 280 Chromebooks. And that is from the FY26 operating budget. We had only budgeted $112,575. However, between the 2 purchases, there's about a $900 differential. So we're in good shape overall.
And these prices will stay this bid, right?
So these are locked in
Okay.
prices. This is what the companies bid for. They haven't signed anything, so they could, there's always a potential with any bid that the company backs out, at which points we wouldn't be obligated to
Right,
pay, but we'd have to start the process
over again,
So-
okay. All right, any questions for Matt?
Pardon me for stepping in on like negotiating tactics here, and I don't even know if this is something that takes place, but when there's like several companies that are bidding on 2 separate things, and we're now using the same company for both things, could we say we're awarding you these, if we were to award you these 2 bids, would there be a better deal?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, and these were sent in conjunction, so oftentimes these companies will look at their pricing kind of as a whole, hoping to get both bids. However, there is strict competitive procurement law that we have to follow.
Okay.
So it's we're not allowed to then negotiate after the fact unless there's at least in those with that mindset.
Sure.
There are certain situations where we could negotiate if there's some type of change to the specifications or that there's a few exclusions, but for the most part, this is open bidding where these companies know like that they're providing their best competitive bid, and we are similarly required to be transparent and accept the bid that they offered, and we can always choose not to, but there's limited opportunity to negotiate after the fact.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt. Any other questions?
Yeah, one more question. What do you get in the management portion of the bids, management license? Do they provide service to the equipment?
I believe that's the Google management license.
Oh, okay.
So which is why it's essentially the same price for both.
Education.
Yeah.
Okay.
All set? All right, could I get a motion then, please?
I'll make a motion to award the FY '26 Chromebook purchase bid to New Era Technology in the amount of $138,250.
Thank you. Second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Our future meetings are SAU 21 Operations Committee meeting is Wednesday, May 7th, and our next school board meeting is May 21st, and then also we have that legislative on Monday at 6 o'clock. We now will be going into non-public. Can I get a motion to go into, Nicole, you're the...
I'll make a motion for a roll call to enter non-public session under RSA 91-A:3 Roman numeral 2C at 8:07 p.m.
Right, all those, roll call. Second, sorry.
Seconded.
Either one.
Okay. Desiree Potter.
Yep.
Leslie LaFawn.
Yes.
Nicole Seco.
Yes.
And Tracy Williams.
Yes.